All right. If we had music, it would be playing right now, but we don't, so I'm just going to talk about stuff. Welcome to This Week in Cassandra, Planet Cassandra. We are pretty excited for this week. I am back. I was missing last week. Luke did a good job, probably better than I have in any of the things I've done, and there's a good chance I'm going to be voted out of This Week in Cassandra sometime in the near future, but that's okay. We've got Luke Tillman, we got Patrick McFadden, we've got Jui Hai, and we have our new wonderful guest, Carlos Rolo. He's going to be talking to us about some of the consulting experiences that he's had in the past, some of the weird problems that he's fixed, and some of the old versions of Cassandra that he's unfortunately had to encounter. But
The
before...
archaeologist.
What's that?
He's a Cassandra archaeologist. He
Yeah,
finds all the old ancient installations.
yeah, he's basically like digging up old mummies that happen to be running Cassandra clusters and
And drift.
trying to fix them.
That's right.
So, what do we got first here? Um, Before we get going with you, Carlos, we're going to talk about the news because that's important, right? It's this week. We've got a couple new bug fix releases for Cassandra. We got 2.1 saw a bug fix release and 2.2. So these guys keep going. This is good stuff. 2.1 is definitely super stable release, and there's a handful of bugs that got fixed in it, but pretty solid overall. 2.2's probably the place that most people are putting their new clusters in production because it just hit 2.2.6, so that's pretty cool. And then, of course, we've got a few blog posts. And what do you know? Lucky us, we've got Luke Tillman here. He's going to give us a little love, He's got one token ring to rule them all, doesn't he?
And more 80s movie references.
Yeah. So, Luke, why don't you give us a little background on this?
So this was I don't know, I don't blog enough probably, but a few weeks ago I was out in the field with Jake Luciani, one of the Cassandra committers, and we were doing a boot camp, like a Cassandra committers boot camp, where we were trying to teach some developers about Cassandra internals, and by we I mean he was really teaching them about Cassandra internals. But it was interesting for me being there as well, and as we were kind of going through some of the internals, and he was kind of explaining some of the different code paths and things like that. He made this kind of offhand comment that turned out to be, and the people that we were kind of doing this boot camp with were pretty experienced Cassandra users. They've been at it for a while, know Cassandra pretty well. And he made some comment when he was explaining replication where he basically said, well, there's only one token ring, there's only one range. And then he said, well, I understand, because this was like a revelation, the at boot camp, and he's like, yeah, I know when you see these visual depictions of Cassandra, a lot of times you see like multiple rings, or you see multiple clusters, it looks like, but really, like, everything is built on top of this idea that there's only one token range, that's divided across all the nodes in all your data centers, and replication and data centers and all these other things are kind of built on top of it. And that was kind of like an aha moment, I guess, for me, where I was like, huh. Like, I guess I'd never really thought about how kind of deceiving it can be sometimes when we have these visual depictions of Cassandra. A lot of times we're showing nodes grouped by data center and things like that, and really, it's kind of hard sometimes for beginners to get their mind around some of these kind of terms like cluster and ring and data center and that kind of thing. So. That's basically the thrust of the blog post is, hey, take a look at these pictures, that we use a lot, including a wonderful Coming to America reference, because I can't do anything without making at least one 80s movie reference, and just kind of trying to explain the various, terms for somebody that's new to Cassandra. So
Yeah. Well, this is I think this is one of those things that's really important. I mean, this is like a fundamental thing, and I love the fact that you were able to use the content in DataStax Academy, so you didn't have to rehash everything that everybody needs to know about how a snitch works. Because otherwise it turns into like, okay, I have to cover 35 different topics in my blog post, and then you end up with like the longest blog post ever that perhaps needs a table of contents, oddly enough. And so it was cool to see the being able to link to Academy, where now we've actually have these small segments. The one that you did, Patrick, I thought was really good on the snitch. It's just a few minutes. It's like if you just want to learn about how the snitch works, you can watch this 5-minute video.
Yeah, both of my links were to Patrick's new course on Data Science Academy.
How to be a snitch.
Yeah.
Well, I think actually I did a talk called I Have 99 Problems and a Snitch Ain't One. And thank you, Jay-Z. But I think that's probably way more in the weeds than some people want to get, but it is pretty critical. I mean, topology awareness is in the snitch. The snitch is what deals with what data center you're in and the data placement, and if you're in rack awareness, like making sure that your data is not like one rack, so if the power goes out, and then if you think about how we manage data, with the different snitches like EC2 snitch or Google snitch or property file snitch, it's all about where's my data in this big ring around the world. So yeah.
Yep. I just want to back up just a brief moment to the table of contents thing, because I think it's important to discuss the epic tome of knowledge that Shvihai has posted this week about SASE that actually did need a table of contents. This dude, I love this post. Like, I sat down and I was like probably half an hour of just going through the details of this. It was really, really good.
Well, indeed, I could have split it into like 5 blog posts. The problem is
30 blog posts. I don't know.
The problem is I want to keep the knowledge in the same place, because you want to know about something about SASE. You have just one place to go. Yep. And probably in the future we may enrich our official documentation with more content. Yep. But at least right now, for the people who want to try out SASE, they have something to read.
Yeah, well, it's really nice to see if you're interested in working on it, it's really nice to be able to read like technical details before you dive into the code. So you have at least a frame of reference. Okay, this is the purpose of it, right? You talk about how the tree is built in that B+ tree, how the tokenization works, the actual classes that are used, and it's kind of cool because it's like, okay, here's the lay of the land before you get in the weeds. And it's nice to have that high-level overview, even though, I call it high-level, even though it's really in-depth. It's nice to have something other than reading the code if you're going to be a developer and try and work on it. So,
and if you don't have enough time to read through all this stuff, just go to the last chapter where I give some recommendation when you should use SASE and when you should avoid, because it's not magical. It has some drawbacks. So it's all about trade-off.
Yep.
Are we ever going to have a magical feature in Cassandra? Because I'm really,
Yeah, where's the unicorn?
Yeah, where's the unicorn? Oh, wait, there's never been a magical feature ever.
Yeah.
I think people will see, now I can make ORs, and there it goes. Everyone enabling it, and there we go.
Yeah.
But I hope the blog post clears lots of stuff, and it's really a good place to get people to read about it. Like, please, there's no magic.
Yeah.
I think it's funny that Carlos is saying this because he will probably have to deal with the folks that do believe in magic, and he has to pull them out of the fire.
Yeah. Well, sometime in 2025, when he's working on a 3.6 cluster.
Like, somebody tweets you can do an OR, and then I decided to try it, and now I have 20 nodes and I can't do anything.
Yeah.
I've said it before. Distributed systems are hard.
Yeah, it's no joke. But the other thing I did like about that post is it also pointed out some things that need to go on the roadmap and architectural changes that need to happen, which probably increase performance even more. It's just really cool to see how someone can debug something and okay, this is how you can get into the Cassandra code base and learn how this functionality works. And there's a patch there, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, the patch is for those people who want to really understand the structure.
Yeah, love the patch.
It saved my life because I spent like 5 days and I couldn't understand the data structure because the code is very abstract. So yeah, let's make a patch.
Yeah.
And look, I'm gonna just tell you right now, this is the most epic blog post because I've never ever had to install a patch to understand the blog post.
I think the patch is definitely one of the most intense ways to solve this. You could have just pushed up a branch, but
yeah,
I know
it's amazing. Yeah, it's still good.
So to be fair, I think a lot of we have been talking to Pavel and that team quite a bit about the roadmap, and I would just say stay tuned. This is just the beginning. There's a lot of really cool things coming with SASE. So it's not all bad. Actually, it's not bad at all. It's just understanding it.
Yeah, there's a ton of functionality that has been talked about where it's no, like advanced query planner stuff. There's other features that this is why I really like the TikTok release schedule, because it's every month you're like, what's coming out, and you get to look at some cool stuff and hammer on it and test it, and Shvihai, you did all that work hammering stuff on that cluster that you got a hold of. We didn't have to wait 9 months to test that. I really like that.
Not for you, Carlos, though. You'll see it in 5 or 6 years, so just don't get
roughly. Yeah, your beard will be way bigger, super bushy. The other thing I wanted to talk about before we get caught in the SASE thing is another Shvihai thing. We had the Achilles release with support for UDS, right?
Yeah. So just the idea is you declare your UDF or UDA in Achilles, and Achilles will build at compile time a query like a DSL, so that you can apply your function in a type-safe manner. For example, if you have a text to integer function, you can only apply this function on a text column and not, of course, on UUID column, because it's just not possible from the type safety point of view.
Yeah. Nice. It's very cool. Yeah, Achilles is pretty intense.
And yes, and I stay tuned because in the future I'm planning to add support for SASE also.
Nice. Very cool. Nice. Well, all right. So I think that covers all our blog posts that we were going to go over. Carlos, guess what? You're on mute. There you go. Wait.
We were giving you a hard time, but you do have some stories. I think these are useful stories. So Carlos, you and I were talking earlier. You and I have been probably doing consulting on Cassandra. Well, probably about the same amount of time at different time periods. But I think it's really useful for people to understand the same mistakes that get over and over and over. Maybe you could talk a little bit about your experiences.
So what I see awful lot, and that's so you have a relational database, and at some point you decided that it doesn't scale, you want Cassandra, but the problem is you decide to jump in Cassandra and you just make exactly the same data model, and then you figure out, well, why can I query by this or that, and you start throwing secondary indexes on all that, and I see tables with all fields with all secondary indexes. Like every single thing is on the secondary index. And then it will work. It will work until you have 3 nodes, because you're not scaling on your dev environment. It will work for sure. Then you get to that 5, 6 nodes, and boom, there you go. It's not performing anymore. You need to rewrite your data model. At this point, you probably have some amount of data, which is, and you need to change applications and all that. It gets messy. So that's the data model.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really pain point, because at some point people saying, okay, maybe if I throw hardware at the problem, it will solve it. And it's not that easy.
No, really not.
Then versioning, people, if it works, don't touch it until they figure out they have a weird bug in that, and then needs to upgrade all the way. and it's not easy to upgrade anymore because you need. Well, it's not that difficult, but it's a lot of trouble. Might involve some care, some months of work to push stuff to a decent level.
You've had to deal with a lot of like old like either 1.1 or like people running thrift, and you're kind of just trying to help them get out of that like the Stone Age of Cassandra into like the Bronze Age, which is still old but better. How do you normally do that? Like, what's that process look like?
So normally the most difficult process is actually convincing people that they need to move. So like, well, I have thrift and it still works. Why should I move to CQL? People will actually prefer to upgrade version but don't change the driver, and they'll go all the way to 2.1 and they are still on Actor using thrift.
Yeah.
So this is, so that's the most difficult point. Then the next point is actually make test systems that you can actually show that stuff works. You don't be afraid. Yeah, we put a test system next to yours. We load some data. You can test your apps, and things work. And then eventually they will make the move. But it's never a fast process. It's a month.
Yeah.
I never seen anything go faster than 2-3 months.
Yeah.
Even if it's simple data models.
Yeah. Database migrations are definitely hard, and like especially when you're dealing with distributed databases where you can't just do insert into select star from whatever, have an hour of downtime and then be like, magic. I just migrated 1 million rows.
So we should probably talk about hardware too, because I think you said this earlier. When you get these people that are so in a bad place, and then they're like, "Oh, just add more hardware." Sometimes there's some really bad choices in hardware as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. People think, well, I read it's adding more nodes and it works well, but then everything is on a NAS or a SAN, and there you go. It doesn't matter how many nodes you are eating the same storage all over again. So that is a really, really bad thing, and it's seen quite often.
Have you ever... sorry, go ahead.
Sure.
I was going to ask have you seen anybody run clusters of mixed hardware for like long periods of time?
Well, I've seen mixed VMs, like people running on, let's say, AWS with i2s and see something extra large and stuff like that I've seen. I've seen some in-house virtualization things which kind of make stuff difficult to handle. I don't remember the name of one, but it was really weird, that one. And then also problems with CPU. That was at some point like people don't understand the CPU metrics, and I get like CPU steals of 60%, and then people complain that Cassandra is not performing. Yeah, you don't have CPU at all. So
it's those times I say Cassandra's all out of magic, and it is tough.
Yeah.
I think you and I were spending some time on Slack one time, and you were talking about this cluster that was just on the edge of disaster, and it was still holding up, even though they were doing horrible, horrible things to it, and it was still serving data. But
yeah,
it goes to that whole thing that Cassandra's like the honey badger of databases.
No, that's something that I tend to say a lot. Things might be on the brink of disaster, but you don't get downtime. Yeah, it might be slow, but you don't get downtime, and that's something that I've worked with other databases and I've never seen that.
Yeah.
It is sad what people do to test that.
we're all about the A in the Cassandra world. That availability, gotta have it.
I saw the worst thing I ever saw, which was amazing, was a 900 node cluster got spun up on one NFS backend. NFS, not SAN, NFS. The A time waits on the disk were 250 milliseconds, and it was still kind of working. They just turned off compaction.
Oh yeah, that'll do.
They turned off compaction, and it was still working. They're like, we have more disk space than we ever need, so we'll just turn off compaction.
That's insane.
It took like 25 SS table reads to find your data, but it was working.
It's awful. All right, awesome.
Yeah.
All right, I think we can wrap this one up. Carlos, thank you very much for taking the time to hang out with us today. And
are you going to be at the Cassandra Summit? Are you doing a talk? What are you doing?
Yeah, we got the summit.
I need to push my abstract because I don't think I can talk without an abstract. So
no, you
probably need that.
All right, just a reminder for everyone: June 1st. So Carlos, get it in by June 1st.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and we do have a whole bunch of job opportunities right now. There's like almost 10 job opportunities sitting around. Netflix, Last Pickle, Weather Company, Walmart. We're hiring for an evangelist. Just there's a bunch of stuff in there. Like if you're looking for a job, check that out.
The most exciting one.
Yep.
Oh,
yeah, so we have an internship available on the actual Cassandra team, the Cassandra core team. So if you're a student and you are interested in maybe being a Cassandra committer, that's pretty cool. Definitely check that out.
Yeah, do it. Awesome.
Really,
right.
It's really actually the reality is you just get Jonathan coffee. But anyway, kidding. There's actual coding, but it's a really good opportunity. We've seen some really cool people come through there.
Yeah, like didn't Joel, who was our guest last week, didn't he start as an intern at one point? Like
he did. Yeah, now he's like the world's expert at testing distributed systems.
Exactly.
So, all right, make your move.
Awesome. All right, cool. Well, if you guys have anything else, you could sign off. Deuces.